Do any of you remember this guy?
Sit there and laugh. You think it's a joke? You really think it's a joke? Huh? You go home for the holidays. I don't. But you sit there with no smile. You know what? I wish it was election because you would do better this year. If it was election time, because you would be worried about your election and not about the people. It's time to get up and fight for the people.
I'm almost afraid to ask Scott McGrath, who fired off that response to FEMA and its lackluster aid, how he feels about a package that could be coming his way, a third of which is going to someone else. Scott?
I don't think it's right. First of all, they keep saying they're going to help the victims of Sandy. They're not. It's still getting the runaround and stuff like that. It's wrong to add stuff to put us, the American people, more in debt by adding, putting in these secret little deals that they want for the other states.
Now, if that was the price, you know how politics work, they always say this is how we do business. If that was the price of getting votes to get aid to you, it's a hell of a price to pay.
It is.
That's a 30% commission.
It sure is, because you know what? The middle class is going to pay for it at the end. Nothing's for nothing in this government. So what's going to happen? We're going to wind up paying more on our taxes and stuff like that. So, yeah, you're going to help the people, they're so-called helping the victims of Sandy.
This might not reach you. Now, you were forced out of your home. You're back in your home now, right?
We've been living in our home, yes.
How are things now for you?
Well, we've been living in the home. You know what? We just finally got electric and heat.
Where did you celebrate the holidays?
I celebrated it Christmas morning in my house. Then I went to my sister's in Long Island for dinner. For New Year's, we were there. New Year's Eve, we were there. Then we went over to my neighbor for the...
We're showing your house, Scott. It looks like an absolute mess.
It is a mess.
What have they told you they're going to fork over to help you here?
They said that they want... we got an proposal from the insurance company. They're saying that a piece of plywood to do one of those sections of the whole room is $54 to tear it up and replace it. $54. They're saying to do a sheetrock, to do the taping and stuff, $7.25 a sheet. I don't know where they're getting these prices from, but they're not New York prices, because every contract...
Well, it seems odd to me, because the government's pretty good at inflating numbers. This is one of the rare times where...
They inflate it for their own purpose. Yeah. They don't inflate it for the purpose of the people.
I understand. So, Scott, here you have a situation where a good chunk of the aid, this is a New York councilman we're talking to, who said, if that's what it takes, then I don't want the money because so much of it isn't making it to my folks. How do you feel about that? If one of your representatives turns down this dough because he says so much of it isn't going to folks like you?
He's right and he's wrong, because you can't put us all in more debt. This country's in debt. We're so easy and eager to help these other countries that, we forget about our own people. And yeah, again, we're middle class. By taking this extra stuff that is nonsense or we don't need, you're putting more of a tax burden on the government, and who's going to pay for it?
You don't mind not getting the money on that principle stand?
They have to change it and cut out the pork. They have to be honest with it.
But we already know a third of this is going to pork and stupid stuff. Would you accept the 2/3 or not even that isn't?
You can't accept it if it's going to put us in more debt down the road. We're going to hurt the middle-class families. He's absolutely right. You can't. The middle class is what...
Well, then I want you to listen to this. This is Senator Chuck Schumer when this whole thing blew up in the House, and Speaker Boehner had cut this. And what he was saying essentially at the time was, look, I'm going to shelve this because I want to re-examine it. Look at where the money's being apportioned. Chuck Schumer went, you know what. This is from Senator Schumer. I want you to react.
I heard Darrell Issa say today that the bill didn't move in the House because it was filled with pork. I'd like Darrell Issa to sit eye to eye with a homeowner who has lost their home and their life and tell that homeowner to his face that that's pork.
More than a third of it's pork.
He's full of it. You know what? Schumer has to get with the grip. You know what? Again, they have to worry about what's going to come in a long time after everything's settled. You know, everybody's, let's hurry, hurry, hurry and do it now. A quick fix is not going to help us. You know, yes, we need our houses and stuff done, but in the long run, I don't want to be paying more taxes down the road and not have money to buy or do things that I want to do in my future.
Now, you took this up with President Obama when he visited the area, right? What did he tell you?
He's a phony. He's a liar, straight out liar. He said to me face to face that he's going to cut the red tape. We're 2 months now, no red tape's been cut. We've been told, he told me things are going to be taken care of. FEMA has to listen to him. Yeah, you know what FEMA told me the other day? I have 5 adult people that live in my house. Me, my wife, and my 3 kids. We own 3 cars. They tell me they're not going to cover one of my cars because they want to know why I own 3 cars. Hello, the American dream entitles me to buy what I want as a middle-class working person. If I want 5 cars, 1 for each of my kids, that is my right and my business. To tell me I'm not going to be covered because I have to take an SBA loan to cover my car that was lost. And then the SBA loan wants to know what happened 10 years ago when I was arrested. They want fingerprinting. Meanwhile, I've been working for the same company for 25 years. Would they do it to another area? Would they do it to people that were not the middle class? Absolutely not. You know, they also had to cut that unemployment thing. You know what? They just passed that unemployment. There's jobs out there. People have to get off their rear ends and find a job and stop taking free handouts.
You've had it with politicians.
Yeah, I'm tired of the free handouts. I'm tired of the people collecting, and getting rewarded. You know what? They're sending a bad message to the kids of the future. They're telling you, do not work. You're better off. Do not work. Because if you work in your middle class, you're going to get screwed. And that's the bottom line. You're going to get screwed as a middle class person.
Politicians are screwing you again.
Sure are.
Yeah.
They're doing it to the middle class. The middle class has to wake up. That's what we have to wake up and protest. You do it, you know what? You see it. The minorities, when there's a problem, they protest. They fight and they get things done. You know what? The rich stick together, they get it done. The middle class have to get together and make those phone calls and tell these politicians, we run this country, not you, or you're gone. That's what they need to do.
Scott, it's time for you to run for office, young man.
I don't look it. I enjoy my job. You know, I have 11 years to go with them. My wife and people have told me that you need honest people there. There can't be, you have to be honest with the people. You know what? We're the working class.
You are indeed. You deserve better, Scott. You deserve better. I want to thank you very much. And I just want to remind you guys, I know I seem like stink on you know what on this issue, and we have from the very beginning working many a weekend to be on top of what was happening in Staten Island and hurricane-ravaged areas. Remember, we were the same folks who told when these politicians were backslapping each other, saying, hey, we're doing a great job, and they forgot about folks like Scott. And then they cobbled together a deal, a $60 billion deal, rejection of which seemed to be almost satanic, without looking into the finer print and saying a third of it, more than a third of it, is going to relief areas that have nothing to do with relief at all, that have nothing to do with Sandy at all, that are building Alaskan fisheries. Last time I checked, that was not within Sandy's path. This is why we're on this issue. This is why we're about your green. This is why we create a storm over a storm. Because the bull that folks like Scott have to deal with is un-American. And the lies upon lies that are foisted upon him and victims like him in the name of doing good has got to stop. And I will tell you what, people, and all of my friends who join me on this show, I'm stubborn, and I'm not stopping looking at that money. Red or blue, I am going to be on you like stink on you know what.